Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name's Caroline and I'm an artist from right here in Portland, Oregon. And on this channel, I upload a new video every week, whether that's a art tutorial, a time-lapse of me painting, an experiment, or whatever else I can come up with. Because on this channel, we love all things artsy-fartsy. In this week's video, I'll be showing you how to paint a pretty little flower painting using secondary colors. So if that interests you, please make sure you hit those like and subscribe buttons down below. With that said, let's get painting. Okay, so we are back with our standard 8 by 10 inch birch panel, and I've gone ahead and just sketched out a little image here of some flowers. So I don't think I've ever mentioned this in the past, but you want to make sure you take advantage of your brushes and always use more than one or two per painting. Here you can see I've got a flat, a filbert, and a round. And I also have a little liner brush here that I'll use for detailing as well. So I've divided up my paints into 3 of the color groups, which will be violet, green, and orange. I made 3 separate little color zones on my palette so that the colors don't mix together, the greens, the oranges, and the purples. Now I'm just going to come in here with my small little round brush and use it to my advantage by dotting in some colors, starting with the violet, lightest at the top, and going darker on the way down. Okay, so what are secondary colors? It's super easy. You've got your primaries, right? Which are red, yellow, and blue. If you mix those together, not all together, but red with yellow, you get orange. And if you mix yellow with blue, you get green. And if you mix red and blue together, you get purple. So orange, green, and purple are your secondary colors. And those are the colors that we are going to be focusing on using today in this painting. Okay, so I'm just going to go through after I finish putting this dark violet down, and I'm going to put in a few highlights here with my brush, just dotting in some lighter lavender throughout this pretty little lupine. So I'm making sure to keep this demonstration pretty easy today for all of you beginners at home. This is a super fun and easy little project that any of you can do, including kids. Now I'm coming in with some green and I'm dropping the stem down into that lupine, and then I will also be going through and coloring the lupine's leaves. Don't be afraid to rotate your canvas. You always want to make sure that you are able to get the best angle possible when you are painting. I also recommend that you don't paint on a table like I am doing. I'm doing this just because it is a better shot for the camera, having that angle come straight down on the painting. But for all of you at home, I highly recommend you use an easel. It's much easier to paint and it allows you to really take a step back from your work to see the progress that you've done so far in your piece. So once you get that basic green color down, you can then go in with some darker greens to add some shadows and even some lighter greens to add some highlights. I'm going to go ahead now and just repeat this process with the rest of the lupines on the board. So speaking of my board, I'm sure some of you are wondering why I always use birch panels. Well, it's really just personal preference, but I will tell you why I chose to use birch over canvas. So canvases tend to be kind of rough, and a lot of people just take them and start painting on them, when really if they're a lower quality or if they're super rough, you actually have to take them home and sand them down and then gesso them. You have to work with them to get them to the right texture that you want, unless of course you want them to be really rough and you want to see that canvas fabric showing through on your painting, which I don't think a lot of artists like that. But anyways, so with the boards you don't have to do that. So in addition to these boards being really smooth, they're also really absorbent so they suck in that moisture of your paint, which is really nice because then your painting can dry faster, so you can work on it more. And this is great when it especially comes to oil paintings. Another reason why I like working on these boards instead of canvas is that you can get away with painting the sides and not having to frame them, which is great and saves you a lot of money. A lot of times, studio grade canvases have the staples on the sides, so you really need to put a frame on your work to cover up those staples. Gallery wrapped, on the other hand, has the canvas that wraps around it, and you could paint the sides and get away with not having to deal with that. But again, these boards are really inexpensive, so you can actually get a bunch of these boards and paint on those instead of buying a gallery wrapped canvas, and you don't have to deal with the frame, and so you're saving some money right there. So yeah, there's a lot of reasons why I prefer using these little boards over canvases. So now I'm just going to go in with a lighter green, and I'm going to color the little stems and leaves of these California poppies here. And these leaves are really neat. They kind of remind me of little fingers. Okay, now the fun part, we get to start coloring in these beautiful golden California poppies. I'm going to start with the darkest orange in the darkest areas, so those shadows, and then work my way out with the orange, and then finally a more of a golden yellow orange for highlights. So normally we would paint our background and then work our way forward into the foreground of our paintings, but in this one we're doing it a little bit different, just because I wanted to leave some of that wood untouched so that I can actually stain it at the very end so you guys can see what that looks like. And that, again, that's another reason why I like these birch panels, is because you can play around with different stains, which I was going to do a video for you guys. Maybe I'll do that coming up here in the next month or so, where we paint with wood stains instead of normal paints. So looking at the painting, though, it still seems kind of sparse down towards the bottom, so it doesn't have a lot of visual weight. I feel like it's a little empty, a little floaty. They're floating in kind of, you know, midair. So I'm going to go ahead and actually color in the background green a bit, just where the flowers are popping up, so that it gives it some visual weight to the painting. And like always, I'll be sure to link all of the supplies I'm using today down below in the description. Go ahead and check that out if you want to create one of these little paintings at home. Also, don't forget I opened my very own shop on my website where I'm selling all of these little demonstrations. If you want to go check that out, I'll be sure to link that down below in the description. So I don't know about you guys, but I absolutely love California golden poppies. They're one of my favorite flowers out there. They're just so bright and happy and bring a smile to my face whenever I see them pop up. So as you can see here, I've started coloring in that background. I'm just coming in with a darker green to just kind of fill it in for now. And then we're actually going to go over with some lighter greens and adding some details throughout to give it some more texture and make it look a little bit more interesting. Okay, so now that I'm finally standing back from my painting, I can already tell I made a couple mistakes that I'm going to go in and fix. I need to add a little bit of some more highlights as well, which I am doing right here. And then we're going to do the detailing and highlights in the green. And then I'm going to go in and actually fix a couple petals that don't look right to me. Right there, there's a lupine leaf that's over the poppy, which makes no sense because that poppy's closer to us than that lupine is. So I actually need to bring that petal of the poppy forward and paint over that leaf. So I'm just having a really hard time with this painting today, mostly because of my kitten who came into the workspace again and made a huge mess of things. It wasn't on camera, but he ended up jumping into my palette of paint and then sliding and then kind of scaring himself and then getting the paint all over the room, including the walls and the carpet, and then he splattered my wood panel here a little bit, so there's a little bit of paint where it shouldn't be, and I can't really paint over it or hide it. That's the one downside of these, is that if you want that natural grain to show, you can't really undo your paint. You can't cover it up. It kind of ruins the rest of the wood there for you. So yeah, a little bit of fiasco today in the studio. But fortunately I got all the paint off of the kitten, so he is fine. And that is also why I've been using mostly acrylics lately and not my oils, is because he is just a little devil and he gets into everything right now. So maybe when he's older, I could put up a wall or a door or something, that'd be great. But so mostly my paintings and the demonstrations I'm doing for you guys are acrylic because they are safer for animals in case that happens. So I'll be doing more oil paintings once he's a little older, I think, or when I put a door up in my workspace. Okay, so I'm just going in with some various green colors, light greens, mid greens, dark greens, and I'm just putting some lines here and there. I'm giving the illusion that there's grasses and twigs and leaves and stems and all kinds of things coming around here, making it a little bit more interesting. Also, I'm trying to cover up some paint splatter from the kitten, or at least doing the best that I can, because I didn't want to go too high up here. I wanted to put a stain over the wood there, but we'll see what we can do. All right, so we got some more detail going on in there, which is starting to look pretty good. And then I still need to fix the poppy petals on the left side there, and I might add a few more details here and there. So already you could see that by fixing that petal, it is now starting to make a little bit more sense. That poppy is in front of that lupine. And also, I strongly recommend, if you are actually wanting to do one of these from home, that you use a reference of some sort, whether that be a real flower next to you or a picture of one. I'm just going off of sort of memory and my imagination here to kind of show you that it is in fact super easy to do, and it looks even better when you have a reference. I'm just going to go through really quick and touch up things here and there, do a little bit of blending, and then I'm going to let this thoroughly dry for a few hours at least before I do a stain over the whole painting. Okay, so I think we're just about done here. I think this looks okay. Again, this is just super easy acrylics on wood panel, using really simple techniques to create our pretty little flowers here using secondary colors. And now let's go ahead and stain this. So I found my old Minwax stain. You can use any stain you'd like, but you should probably use something lighter in color so that the stain doesn't change the color of your paints, because we are putting the stain right over on top of our whole entire painting. And the great thing about this stain is that it is oil-based, and we are putting it over our acrylic painting, and it is also acting as a varnish for the painting. Remember that you can put oils, oil paints, and oil stains over acrylics, but you cannot reverse that. You cannot put acrylic anything over oil anything, okay? So oil can go over acrylics, but acrylics cannot go over oil. And while we're at it, don't forget to do the sides of your painting. If you are just using canvas, make sure you paint the sides. And if you are using the board like I am, make sure you are staining the sides. This way the painting is complete and you can go ahead and sell it as is and not have to worry about framing it. Okay, let's make sure we let this dry for about 24 hours. Okay, so here we are with the finished piece, and the piece has a really beautiful luster, kind of a sheen to it from that stain that we used. Not sure if you could see it here, but There is a little bit of a shine right there on that wood. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Let me know what you think down below, and I will see you all next week.